Malaysia-Japan relations elevated to comprehensive strategic partnership. Army Chief Joseph Aoun elected Lebanon's president. Good afternoon and Salam Malaysia Madani. This is World Today. I'm Shuhaida Arifin. Malaysia and Japan have agreed to elevate their bilateral relations to comprehensive strategic partnership while discussing further on prioritized issues such as trade and investment. Prime Minister Datuk Seri Anwar Ibrahim said both nations also agreed to enhance collaboration in numerous areas, including higher education and energy.
Going through carbon capture, utilization and storage, with Petronas clean energy policy through the delivery of carbon-neutral LNG cargo to Shikoku Electric and Hiroshima Gas. I also mentioned the formation of the ASEAN Energy Grid from Laos, Thailand, Malaysia, Singapore, and the initiative by Sarawak for energy undersea cable Sarawak to Peninsular Malaya and to Singapore. And this, of course, requires participation from Japan, other than the countries involved.
The Premier added that Japan will be involved with rare earth element processing in Malaysia. In addition, he said Petronas and Petros will cooperate in the hydrogen sector in Sarawak, supported by Japanese technology. Earlier, Japanese Prime Minister Shigeru Ishiba, who is on a two-day official visit to Malaysia, was accorded a formal welcoming ceremony at the Perdana Putra complex in Putrajaya this morning. Prime Minister Datuk Seri Anwar Ibrahim greeted him upon arrival, after which the national anthems of both countries were played. Ishiba then inspected a guard of honour mounted by 3 officers and 103 members from the 1st Battalion of the Royal Ranger Regiment. Before proceeding for a 4-eyed meeting with Datuk Seri Anwar, the Japanese Premier signed the guest book. Japan is a key economic partner for Malaysia, with a total of 2,821 manufacturing projects involving Japanese participation implemented in Malaysia as of June last year. Lebanese lawmakers have elected Army Chief Joseph Aoun as president, ending a more than 2-year vacancy and marking a step towards lifting the war-battered country out of financial meltdown. Aoun faces the task of overseeing a fragile ceasefire in South Lebanon and naming a prime minister capable of implementing the reforms demanded by international creditors in return for a desperately needed bailout. He said he would call for parliamentary consultation as soon as possible on naming a new prime minister. He vowed that the state would have a monopoly on bearing weapons after a devastating war between Israel and Hezbollah.
عهدي أن أمارس دوري كقائد أعلى للقوات المسلحة وكرئيس للمجلس الأعلى للدفاع، بحيث أعمل من خلالهما على تأكيد حق الدولة في احتكار حمل السلاح.
Parliament Speaker Nabih Berri declared Aoun president after 99 out of 128 lawmakers voted in his favour. Aoun is the 5th army commander to become Lebanon's president and the 4th in a row. The country has been without a president since October 2022, and a lack of consensus between pro- and anti-Hezbollah blocs in parliament scuppered by a dozen previous election attempts. Israeli forces continued to pound Gaza, killing at least 12 people, including 3 girls 15 months into the war. The latest strikes came as Qatar, Egypt and United States mediate negotiations in Doha between Israel and Hamas for a deal to end the fighting and secure the release of hostages. Gaza's civil defense agency said 3 girls and their father were killed when an airstrike hit their house in Nusayrat refugee camp in central Gaza. Local paramedic Mahmoud Awad said he helped transfer the bodies of 2 girls and their father, Mahmoud Abu Karuf, to a hospital. He noted that their bodies were found under the rubble of the house that was bombed by Israel, adding that the body of the third girl had been found earlier by residents. In a separate strike, 8 people were killed when their house was struck in the town of Jabalia in northern Gaza, where the army has focused its offensive since 6 October. The Civil Defense Agency said several other people were also injured in the strike. Israeli airstrikes and shelling continue across Gaza, even as mediators push on with their efforts to halt the fighting. On a related note, research published in the Lancet Medical Journal estimates that the death toll in Gaza during the first 9 months of the Israel-Hamas war was around 40% higher than recorded by the Palestinian Territories Health Ministry.
The number of dead in Gaza has become a matter of bitter debate since Israel launched its military campaign against Hamas. Up to 30th June last year, the Health Ministry in Gaza reported a death toll of 37,877 in the war. However, the new peer-reviewed study used data from the ministry, an online survey and social media obituaries to estimate that there were between 55,298 and 78,525 deaths from traumatic injuries in Gaza by that time. The study's best death toll estimate was 64,260, which would mean the health ministries had underreported the number of deaths to that point by 41%. That toll represented 2.9% of Gaza's pre-war population, or approximately 1 in 35 inhabitants. The UK-led group of researchers estimated that 59% of the deaths were women, children and the elderly. The toll was only 4 deaths from traumatic injuries, so it did not include deaths from a lack of healthcare or food, or the thousands of missing believed to be buried under the rubble.
An international coalition to procure unmanned aerial vehicles UAVs for Ukraine, co-led by United Kingdom and Latvia, will send 30,000 newly ordered drones to Kiev.
Britain's Ministry of Defence said the Drone Capability Coalition, formed in early 2024 to deliver devices to Ukraine, has placed an order worth £45 million for the UAVs. The ministries, however, did not detail when the drones would be dispatched to Kiev. Funding for the 30,000 new UAVs via the coalition comes from the UK, Denmark and Netherlands, Latvia, as well as Sweden. London said the new drones would be state-of-the-art, first-person view UAVs that would help Ukraine fight against Russian aggression. It also said they will allow Ukraine's armed forces to maneuver past Russian air defenses to target enemy positions and armored vehicles. London announced in November last year that it was investing £7.5 million in the Drone Coalition's Common Fund, taking its contributions to date to £15 million. So far, the fund has raised around £73 million in total.
Chinese Foreign Ministry Wang Yi has pledged Beijing's full support and military aid for the world's poorest continent as he wraps up his Africa tour in Nigeria. He pledged $136 million in military aid to Africa and said China will help train 6,000 troops and 1,000 police officers across the continent.
Wang began an Africa tour on 6 January, visiting Namibia, the Republic of Congo and Chad, before winding up his tour in Nigeria, where he had talks with Nigerian President Bola Ahmed Tinubu and Foreign Minister Yusuf Tugar. He said China supports Nigeria in rallying countries in the region to achieve strength through unity, to build synergy through reconciliation, and to promote security through cooperation. One of China's key trade partners in sub-Saharan Africa, Nigeria exports gas and oil to Beijing and imports manufactured products from the country. According to Abuja, trade between the two nations amounted to $22.6 billion in 2023.
Rwanda's President Paul Kagame said that recent peace talks with the Democratic Republic of Congo had been merely a photo opportunity for leaders and demanded new efforts to solve the deadly conflict.
Rwanda-backed opposition forces known as the March 23rd movement since 2021 have seized swathes of Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo, displacing thousands and triggering a humanitarian crisis. Rwanda said its aim is to tackle the Democratic Forces for the Liberation of Rwanda, an armed group formed in the wake of the 1994 Rwandan genocide. However, it has also been accused by the Democratic Republic of Congo of seizing valuable mines in the region, which is known for its mineral riches. A ceasefire in August failed to keep the peace, and the talks between Kagame and Democratic Republic of Congo President Felix Tshisekedi in Luanda broke down.
Wherever there were meetings to discuss how to end this problem, Rwanda was present. But in the end, even now as we speak, the importance is not ending the problem, the importance is in the process. It's in the appearance to be photographed, and we have to have results built on addressing the root causes.
Rwanda also denies reports by United Nations experts and others that it is directly supporting the March 23rd movement.
Still ahead, the Supreme Court allows Donald Trump's sentencing in hush money case. A plane carrying 5 people exploded in Ubatuba on the Sao Paulo coast in Brazil after overshooting the runway and crashing onto the beach. Surveillance camera footage showed the Cessna 545 was about to land when it suddenly overshot the rainy runway at the airport.
The aircraft did a runway excursion with a high speed, crossed the perimeter fence of the airport and an active road, coming to a rest on the beach with an explosion. The pilot was killed, but a couple and 2 children were pulled from the wreckage alive and rushed to the hospital. According to the airport operator, the weather conditions at that time of the accident were poor and the runway of the Praia do Cruzeiro area was wet. The National Civil Aviation Agency indicated that the plane was registered for private air services and did not have a permit for air taxi. Meanwhile, the Brazilian Air Force has mobilized investigators to examine the crash.
Venezuela opposition leader Maria Corina Machado was freed shortly after she was detained amid gunshots while leaving a protest in eastern Caracas. Opposition demonstration took place throughout the country in an 11th-hour effort to put pressure on President Nicolas Maduro ahead of his 3rd inauguration.
Machado emerged from among a throng of thousands of opposition supporters in North Caracas, climbing atop a pickup truck to defy a massive police deployment across the capital. Supporters said that after leaving the rally, she was violently apprehended and taken away by force by security agents. Machado was detained after making her first public appearance in months, prompting her ally, former presidential candidate Edmundo González Urrutia, to demand she be freed immediately. Her anti-Venezuelan movement said Machado was forced to record several videos during her detention. Government officials said her arrest was fabricated by the opposition in a bid to generate support for her movement. Both the opposition and the ruling party claim to have won last year's presidential election. The country's electoral authorities and top courts said Maduro won the July vote, though they have never published detailed tallies.
The U.S. Supreme Court has denied a last-minute bid by President-elect Donald Trump to halt sentencing in his hush money case. The top court, which includes 3 justices appointed by Trump, rejected his emergency application seeking to block today's sentencing by a 5-4 vote.
The court said that the burden that sentencing will impose on the president-elect's responsibilities is relatively insubstantial and noted that Trump will be allowed to attend virtually. The court also noted that the judge who presided over the hush money case has already said he plans to impose a sentence of unconditional discharge, which does not carry any jail time, fine, or probation. Trump is scheduled to be sentenced in Manhattan at 9:30 a.m. local time after being convicted by a New York jury in May of 34 counts of falsifying business records to cover up a hush money payment to Stormy Daniels. Trump, who's to be sworn in as president on 20th January, filed an emergency application with the Supreme Court on Wednesday seeking to halt his sentencing. Trump's lawyer made several legal maneuvers in an effort to fend off the sentencing, arguing that it would be a grave injustice and harm the institution of the presidency and the operations of the federal government.
Chinese health authorities have detected the new mutated Mpox strain clade 1b as the viral infection spreads to more countries after the World Health Organization declared a global public health emergency last year.
China's Center for Disease Control and Prevention said it had found a cluster outbreak of the 1B subclade that started with the infection of a foreigner who has a history of travel and residence in the Democratic Republic of Congo. 4 further cases have been found in people infected after close contact with the foreigner. The patient's symptoms are mild and include skin rash and blisters. The WHO last August declared Mpox a global public health emergency for the second time in 2 years, following an outbreak in the Democratic Republic of Congo that spread to neighboring countries. China said last year it would monitor people and goods entering the country for Mpox. The country's National Health Commission said Mpox would be managed as a Category B infectious disease, enabling officials to take emergency measures such as restricting gatherings, suspending work and school, and sealing off areas when there's an outbreak of a disease.
Wildfires in Southern California, fueled by strong winds and dry conditions, continued to devastate the region, leaving at least 7 dead and over 2,000 structures such as homes and shops damaged or destroyed.
As of yesterday, the fires have prompted the evacuation of more than 150,000 people, with countless homes reduced to ash in the aftermath. The fires began spreading rapidly on Tuesday, and by Wednesday night, flames had reached the iconic Hollywood Hills area, causing widespread destruction. The California Department of Forestry and Fire Protection said at least 6 separate fires were still burning across Los Angeles County, with no effective containment in sight. In addition to the fires, more than 360,000 households and businesses in California were left without power, with over 200,000 of those outages occurring in Los Angeles County alone.
On a related note, a massive wildfires menace Los Angeles from the east and west. Environmental health scientists and doctors warn of the hazards caused by the massive clouds of smoke and particles emanating from the fires.
According to environmental health scientist Carlos Gold, the concentration of a fine particulate matter in the Los Angeles area has reached alarming levels, ranging between 40 and 100 milligrams per cubic meter, significantly higher than the typical U.S. air quality index.
We see huge impacts that happen immediately when air quality is worsened. We think about, the evidence shows, and we've shown that 10 micrograms per cubic meter of wildfire smoke in the air increases same-day mortality in the U.S. by about 1.5%.
Meanwhile, a spokesperson for the American Lung Association, Dr. Afif El-Hassan, warned that chemical byproducts from the fires penetrate deeper into the lungs and can even enter the bloodstream.
If you're working harder to breathe and your body is being challenged that way, it can also put a strain on the heart, and that's why you see an increase in heart attacks during times of high air pollution or times where there's a lot of particles in the air, like with our wildfires.
Next up in sports, 4 Malaysian doubles pairs advance into Malaysia Open quarterfinals. All right, we'll begin our sports segment with badminton. National men's doubles pair Man Wei Chong and T Kai Woon brought cheers to home fans as they stormed into the quarterfinals of the Malaysia Open. They put up a solid performances to upset the 8 seeds from Taiwan, Li Ji Hui and Yang Pu Suan.
The Malaysians set the court ablaze to take the first game 21-15 and powered through to earn their quarter-final berth with a 21-13 win in the second. Wei Chong attributed their success to a few lucky shots, while Kai Woon said they need to discuss new strategies with the coach for their next match. Another men's doubles pair, Ong Yu Sin Teo Yi, also displayed a great performance and advanced into the quarterfinals. They rallied for 69 minutes to dispose of South Korean scratch pair Jin Yong and Kang Min Hyuk 23-21, 16-21, 21-18. Yu Sin said their relaxed approach since the first round has worked wonders for them, allowing the former World Championship bronze medalists to play with a clear mind against their opponents. Meanwhile, professional mixed doubles pair Goh Sun Wat, Siobhan Lai Jamie reached the quarterfinals after prevailing against Indian pair Sasikumar Karunakaran and Adya Variat in straight sets 21-10, 21-17. Siobhan said their experience would help them to chase a semi-final spot in the next round against 7 seeds Zhang Qi and Cheng Xing of China. Another mixed doubles pair, Cheng Tangji Teo Yi-wei, also stormed into the quarterfinals after crushing Taiwan's Hung Eun-soo and Lu Mingqi 21-8, 21-14. The third-seeded Malaysians hope to check into the last 4 by getting past Japan's Natsu Saito and Hiroki Midorikawa later today.
Now in football, Real Madrid will chase a record equaling 14th Spanish Super Cup title in the final against Barcelona after second-half goals by Jude Bellingham and Rodrigo helped them to a 3-0 win over Mallorca in the semi-finals.
Mallorca defended well against Real and the game was goalless at the break after early attempts by Lucas Vazquez and Bellingham forced Mallorca keeper Dominic Grif into saves. Bellingham found a way past the Slovakia keeper in the 63rd minute, however, following an excellent team move. Rodrigo hit the post with a header and Kylian Mbappe's follow-up shot was brilliantly denied by Grif before Bellingham opened the scoring. Real continued pushing to increase their lead, but did not find the net again until Martin Vayen sent the ball into his own net 2 minutes into stoppage time, attempting to block a shot by Real substitute Brahim Diaz. Rodrigo made it 3-0 3 minutes later, converting a stunning cross into the box by Vazquez to celebrate his 24th birthday in style. Spanish champions Real will play Barcelona for the trophy on Sunday after goals by Gavi and Lamine Yamal earned Barca a 2-0 win over Atletico Bilbao. Barcelona hold the record of 14 titles with Real on 13.
Cristiano Ronaldo was on target from the penalty spot to help Al-Nassr to a comfortable 3-1 win over Al-Akhdud, along with Sadio Mane's 2 goals for the day.
It was Ronaldo's first goal of 2025 and his 11th of the campaign as Al-Nassr looked to claw back points and into contention after a slow start to the season. The visiting Al-Akhdud side put pressure early on as they were first on the board when Xavier Goodwin bested Al-Nassr's defence and scored just 6 minutes into the match. However, Main answered back to help put a shot by Sultan Al-Ghanam over the line in the 29th minute. Ronaldo put the home team out front, scoring from the spot just before the half-time. Al-Ghanam and Main paired up again to seal the deal in the 88th minute. Al-Nassr still sit in the 3rd place, 8 points behind Saudi Pro League leaders Al-Ittihad and 6 behind Al-Hilal, each of which have a game in hand.
Premier League strugglers Everton sacked manager Sean Dyche just hours before their FA Cup third round tie against Peterborough. Everton said Dyche had been relieved of his duties as senior men's first team manager with immediate effect after 2 years in charge, with the process to appoint a new boss underway.
Speculation about Dyche's future had intensified, with reports suggesting Everton's new owners, the Friedkin Group, were talking to potential successors since completing a $492 million takeover last month. Everton under-18s head coach Leighton Baines and club captain Seamus Coleman took charge against the third-tier Peterborough on an interim basis, while the Liverpool side are seeking a permanent replacement for Dyche. Former Manchester United and Chelsea boss Jose Mourinho has recently been linked with Everton. Mourinho has experience of working with the Friedkin Group at Roma, although the Italian club sacked him just under a year ago. David Moyes, who managed Everton between 2002 and 2013, ex-England coach Gareth Southgate, Brentford boss Thomas Frank, and Bournemouth manager Andoni Iraola are also among the reported contenders to succeed Dyche.
American driver Seth Quintero won the fifth stage of the Dakar Rally in Saudi Arabia by 1 second after Qatar's Al-Nassr Al-Attiyah, who was first across the line, was penalised 10 minutes.
Al-Attiyah, the five-time champion, had produced what appeared to be a masterclass in his Dacia as he tried to make up the half-hour he lost the day before, and was initially proclaimed the winner of the 428-kilometre special stage between Al-Ula and Hayal. However, the judges handed him a penalty, which left him just behind Quintero, who took his second win of the rally in his Toyota. Since the start of the Dakar last Friday, this is the third stage in which the organisers have changed the stage winner after the finish due to penalties or bonuses. Quintero completed the stage in 4 hours and 32 minutes and 53 seconds, 1 second better than Al-Attiyah's adjusted time. He was a further 7 seconds in front of Swedish driver Mattias Ekström. South African Henk Lettigan came in fourth. He is 10 minutes 17 seconds ahead of Saudi driver Yazid Al-Raji in the overall standings, with Ekström third at 20 minutes and 54 seconds.
All right, and that wraps up World Today. In our top story, Malaysia-Japan relations elevated to comprehensive strategic partnership. Tune in to Malaysia Tonight coming up at 8:30 p.m. on TV1 and saluran Berita RTM. Till then, I'm Shuhaida Arifin. From river to the sea, Palestine will be free. Thank you for watching.